highway. All over it on highway. Got electricity running all over the nation. Go to Mexico. Outside of the major cities, they ain't got running water.
Right.
Go to Moscow. Outside of Moscow, they ain't got running water. Go to China, Beijing. I'm talking about this is the Mecca. This is the greatest country on planet Earth. And it's enough for everybody. We shouldn't allow anybody to come into our governments, Tony, and don't serve all the people.
Yeah.
When we hear them talking about a base, we should be concerned.
Yeah.
Because I pledge allegiance to the flag. Liberty and justice for all. Not for some, but for all. We got a country where you got 2% of the population controlling 90% of the wealth. And you got the overseers. They ain't got as much as the you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, exactly.
Standing on yachts saying $17 an hour is too much to pay workers. What do they mean?
Yeah.
How do you compute that? It's $17 an hour, Tony. That's about $35,000 a year. You can't live in this country and have all the amenities of this country with that kind of income.
No.
Income inequity. I was watching that 1619 project. Woo-wee. But I was transfixed to it like I was the Roots when I first saw Roots.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave the TV because I was seeing stuff that I only heard about, and I got little bits and pieces of it. But this young lady laid out a documentary that showed where blacks was progressing, similar to where they're progressing now. But the governments, state rights was so controlled by white races that they would allow Ku Klux to raid your community, burn it down, and take your land.
Yep.
This, I'm saying, woo, from which we come. No other race of people, and I think that we are God's people, no other race of people have overcome so much in such a short period of time, Tony, as black people.
Yep.
And we can't do it with hate. We got to, and we can't do it with fear, because our ancestors didn't do it with hate or fear. See what we got media, and we got people that are smart. They can put propaganda in your community, in our community, that will cause us to kill each other like dogs. We need to check this stuff. The movies, the music, it means something. Words mean something. It has a spirit that we need to be talking to people about, because look what's going on in our community. The more we have, the worse we behave toward each other. I'm gonna let you talk to me. I'm gonna get you, because
but you hit on so many extremely important points that I almost don't know really where to start. But I'll start with military service.
Yes.
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 As a result of being a male in this country, once you reach the legal age of 18, you are now required. But at the time when we served, you were required to do military service for your country.
We was required.
And during that time, we were in the middle of a war.
And
so
two
you
wars.
didn't have
two wars. The Civil War and the
And so you were drawn into this country, and you had the responsibility of being a citizen of the country. You're required. That was a requirement, and so we did it.
Yeah, we did
it.
We did it.
We didn't question anything, because they said, this, as a citizen, this is your duty.
This is your duty.
But the thing about it was, they said, you do this, and we're going to take care of you.
We're gonna take care
for
of
the
you.
rest of your life.
For the rest
you're
of
like, okay,
yeah,
this is a good deal.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
And we went in groves.
Yes.
You know, and I'm gonna tell you what, Tony. Over 240 of our homeboys from this city, from this area. You know, one of them, well, 5 of them from my high school. One of them was one of my best friends growing up. We know you have your little posse growing up. I hung out at the park with Lewis Herman. You know, I hung out at the bowling alley with Lewis Herman.
Yeah.
You know, I hung out at his house. He hung out at my house. Killed in Vietnam. They sent him home in a flag draped coffin to his family. They buried him, and nobody has talked about him since.
Exactly.
Nobody has raised his name to say why did he die before he was 21 years old.
Yeah.
He didn't live to be 21. His birthday was in November. He was killed in April. The same month Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. Most of these young men that we're trying to celebrate right now, some of them went to your high school and some of them was Howard Turner, all of them, but we're not just celebrating the blacks, we're celebrating all of them. No matter what color they is, because see, when I was in the boonies in Vietnam, when I got wounded, I didn't care what color, you know, what political party the person that had my back, you know, was that. I just relied on that person. We learned to get along. Yeah. We learned a lot about each other because segregation didn't allow us that privilege. You know, it didn't allow us to have the same education opportunities. It didn't allow us to have the same economic opportunities. But through our service, this has gotten better.
Yes.
We are moving toward that more perfect union that we believe that we were serving to build. And we build it. We build it. Because I can remember when I was in basic training, I got this, you know, where I got to school, that and they told me I could go to OCS, right? Now, I didn't know what no OCS was, but they told me more money. So I was, I'm ready to go for more money. I went to paratrooper school for $50 more a month, so, you know, because the pay wasn't nothing. I get over to the barracks and they tell me, well, you got to have 5 years in this army to be an OCS.
That's right. Yes.
I said, oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong place. Man, I got a wife and a baby at home. I got grown before I got him. Even though I wasn't 21 years old, I still got grown before I got there. You know, young people do that all the time. Yep. We have to reflect on all of this when we're talking about this, because see, what I realized this year, more this year than before, because I had my last grandniece finished Washington High School. I ain't got now nothing in sight. All the rest of them are too young. I said I might not live to see another one. I told her, I said I might not live. But I look at how many of those young people going into the military out of her class. You know, not to think about the college classes that's graduating, but out of the high school classes and college graduation this year, we had young people still going into the U.S. military. Why? Because they have a sense of service and they have a sense of patriotism. And we need to make sure that they understand that this nation, this democracy is going to continue to grow because veterans are going to rise up. We're going to rise up. Because, see, when I was over at OCS, I didn't see that many people that looked like me.
Exactly. Very few.
I didn't see that many that looked like me. And then after they sent me back, they sent me to, they said, okay, I was going to signal school, but they said, you got an attitude, you going to infantry. You know, I didn't know what infantry was until I got to know that. I'm a killer. Yeah. I got to go out and hunt and kill human beings.
Yes.
That wasn't fun.
No.
That wasn't no fun. Because in that process, I saw a lot of these young men fall. You know, a lot of young men fell. before they was able to vote. Cause see, when we went in, and during our time, you had to be 21 to vote. Mm-hmm. See, we then growed up from that, because now you can vote at 18. And we need to make sure that these 18-year-olds are voting, because they're going to be the one that saved the democracy. When you got people that have infiltrated our government, and I say infiltrated because you have to pledge allegiance to the Constitution to serve in government. I think that's what, am I right?
Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah.
We got people pledging allegiance to the Constitution and getting in there talking about something else.
Yeah.
We watch politicians with the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling. Just pay your bills.
Yeah.
Right? They compare, everybody's supposed to pay their bills.
Yes.
These people want to hijack the government, saying, well, we ain't gonna let you pay your bills unless you cut some benefits. And guess what benefits they want to cut?
Those of us that are at one point required to serve.
Then I realized that everybody during that period didn't want to serve. Some of them got all kind of exemptions.
Yes.
And I think 45 got an exemption.
45 got,
You know, he got a medical exemption, if I recall, but he can't remember what foot the spur was on. You know, we got to understand that this country is the greatest country on the planet Earth. And these people, they got people that done infiltrated it because they want to take it back to be a segregated, where you ain't got no voice in what the government do. Government, from my understanding of government, and I went to school thanks to the military, is supposed to take care of the people. Right? So why would they want to cut benefits for veterans and seniors? They didn't get, we think thanks to the Democratic Party they couldn't do it this time.
Yep.
But what happened if they take government this next voting section?
Exactly.
They're coming back to do it. We need to make sure we understand what these people are saying to us and believe them. Just believe them. Don't get out of the fantasy that, well, maybe they can't do it.
Yeah.
Listen, Brian Kemp, Governor Brian Kemp, when he was Secretary of State, obliterated 150 voters. Just took them out of the voting because of some clerical error that they conjured up.
Yeah.
You know, so I realized that when you get these people in government, they can come up with any kind of bill. They want to take control of government because that's where they control the people. They control the people. And we cannot allow any politicians to gravitate to a government that want power just for the sake of controlling the people. And that's what we see in this Republican movement. I ain't no party, it's a movement.
Yes.
They're taking away rights. And then they're separating us as they take away rights, right? Now, I'm an anti-abortionist. I'm just straight up. I mean, but I believe that is the right of the female.
Exactly. Yes.
A personal, constitutional right over her own body. Now that abortion thing, she's gonna have to take with the master. That's
right.
She got to take it with the master. I can't judge her. You know, I'm not the judge. I can't do that. They want to roll back same-sex marriages. I mean, I don't go for all that stuff. I mean, it ain't none of my business. It's personal liberties that these people should have.
Yes.
Whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional right.
Exactly.
Why we got people that coming in the government want to split the community, and then they want to play on my feelings because I don't particularly like the behavior. But see, they forgot I got a faith that say love the sinner and hate the sin.
Exactly. Yes.
So they got me mixed up with somebody. But that's what they got in our community. Listen, I'll say this, Tony. They got the old slaves hating on the new slaves, or afraid of the new slave.
Yeah.
The biggest growth of slavery in the world is happening right here in the United States in the penal system.
Exactly.
That is constitutionally slavery. Read the 13th Amendment. It says that slavery should be abolished based on race, but under the conditions of a felony conviction, you shall be subject to involuntary servitude.
Exactly.
We need to wake up.
Yeah.
Because who was filling the penal system? People of color.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the penal system right now, if you look at the bigger population, right, which is Caucasian,
Mm-hmm.
they're the smallest part of the percentage of the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
You got blacks, Hispanics, and Asians.
Mm-hmm.
That's who
People of color.
people of color.
Yeah.
And we got to stop seeing they got us so separated in the community. We can't vote together enough to stop this mess.
Because based on the numbers, we have the ability to do that.
We done did it, Tony.
But there is a system within government where they can control where and how and who you vote for.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to gerrymander our communities to the point to where our votes don't really matter.
Don't really matter.
Yeah.
They watered it down.
Yes.
But see, one of the things that we learned with the race with the senators race, we came out the woodworks.
Yes.
If we come out the woodworks right,
Yep.
that we can override that. And that shows that we can override it. We can override it and get enough elected officials to undo this mess.
Exactly.
And that's what we got to do it. It ain't something that we just want to do it. It is a necessity that we take back our government. That we take back our government. And how do we do it? We do it better than any other demographic in the community. That's veterans. Mm-hmm. We can go talk to our counterparts who, they just going along to get along.
Yeah.
In that community, most of them. But we can remind them that they took an oath. Mm-hmm. And they will come out. We didn't see them come out. We didn't see them confused, but they'll come out. We know that. Mm-hmm. And we got to keep reaching across those lines that they separate us with. We got to keep reaching across these lines and getting our communities to come together to solve their problems. Mm-hmm. Gun violence is a problem that can be dealt with tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can stop all these guns from being in the community. All you got to do is outlaw automatic weapons.
Exactly.
And allow the police go pick them up. Mm-hmm. But you got some people that's so afraid, they've been so feared. They got them so afraid that they feel like they got to have all these guns because you coming at them.
Yeah.
We're not coming at you.
And we are the least of ones coming after you. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that it's not who they think is coming, it's who they think is protecting them, which is the government. The government is that entity that is coming out after you to control. They're not concerned about the gun. Mm-hmm. They're concerned about money. Taxes is what they're doing.
And now you said something, Tony, that you hit the nail on the head. Maynard Jackson said that politics is all about the control of and distribution of wealth.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we need to understand that. Why did Trump have 6 billionaires in his cabinet? Mm-hmm. They privatized most of the federal government.
Yeah. All of the businesses that those billionaires own became privatized businesses that were once run by the government. But now they're private, and so now an element of control. Now they are in the power to control.
And I'm gonna show you how it affects veterans every day. The exam system which Tracy gonna be going to in a minute. I just went through. Every veteran had to go through an exam when they seeking benefits, especially when they're just seeking an increase in already established benefits. It's a process that you file for an increase, and then they look at your what evidence you got, and they say, oh well, yeah, they sent them to an exam. The exam system was privatized under the Trump administration. There was just an article out, I think about 2 months ago, that the VA was doing the exams that were not even necessary. Wasn't even needed for these businesses to get their money. And some of I got a decision back from one claim yesterday. We did a chapter, and they overlooked the most critical evidence that was presented in the case that would have made the whole difference. It was a psychological report. They said, well, was no psychological report submitted. So I said, how could they not consider that? It was submitted, but somebody chose to overlook it. Yeah. So that means this veteran is in this system because we're going to appeal it. We're going to eventually win the case. But, you know, it's a way of frustrating veterans. I got one veteran that I'm looking for because they sent her case back to her because they said a page was missing. It wasn't complete. It just sent her off well enough that she stopped. She don't want to even deal with it. We cannot allow people to keep wearing out our patience. They wear out our patience because we don't have any. Well, we're not accepting the fact that this is our government. This is our government. It's we the people. What has happened because of all the mangling and gerrymandering and voter suppression and economic suppression, we giving up. We giving up, saying just let them have it. No, absolutely not. We cannot afford to let them have it their way. It has to be done the way the Constitution said it is to be done. So, in spite of what we were saying about the city of Atlanta, we're hoping that the message I got is true. And we're hoping that the mayor has decided to take up this project and take it up in the way that we got it laid out. Not just the monument in the park, but going into the community centers, letting us organize the communities around volunteerism, and make sure that some of these funds, well, all of the funds, not some of them, I ain't gonna give them that. I'm not negotiating that. All these funds that's being allocated for homelessness is actually going to help people out of that situation, and not the big salaries and setups and studies and that kind of stuff that is taken over by this privatization movement. If you privatize certain parts of the government, that means that your constitutional rights have been relegated to that company.
Yeah, to a company that is not the federal government. It is a privately owned company. And so as a result, that private company sets its own rules.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head. Kenny went to an exam, right? The exam company had more than one floor in the building. So Kenny just went to the company. He sit there and waited on somebody to call him, and nobody called him, right? Because he in the wrong room. They said he was late coming, and they denied his claim. So we got to go back through the whole process because he didn't make the claim. When nobody courteous enough to say, what you waiting on? Yeah, you in the wrong room. You need to go upstairs. Nobody told him that. So they just write it up. Well, the client was late. Yeah. So we couldn't see him. They could have saw him late if they wanted to. Yeah. But they chose not to send because what happened, they're getting paid anyway. This veteran have been fighting his case for 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's been all about the forms and the processes that we got people in that don't care nothing about his rights. It's just a job to them. We got to do something.
They fail to realize, and that's typical of most businesses, that there is a person on the other end of whatever it is they're working for.
Well, see, with business, it's always going to be the bottom line.
Yeah.
With government, it's not supposed to be the bottom line.
No.
It's supposed to be that person's rights.
Right.
And his condition. You know, right now, the VA is in turmoil because of the PAC Act, right? The PAC Act, which I think was a good step in the right direction. It got some things that need to be dealt with. And Camp Lejeune. Well, right now, Camp Lejeune has two parts, a tort and a benefit, right? The tort is for people, you know, you can get both of them if you was there. And what happened now with the tort, it's going to go away just like they did with the Agent Orange money, then it became a benefit. The tort is giving out lump sums of money. Some people getting $400,000 and $500,000 and they don't look like me and you. Me and you, we can't even get in. We ain't even getting in the door.
Yep.
See, that tort gonna be gone for long.
With those kinds of disbursements of funds, yes, you know,
it's gonna be gone.
yes,
And we not gonna get our share, equal share, because we got one of our clients, one of our veterans. He been trying to get to the toxicologist because, you know, well, he can't afford to pay for the toxicologist, so the VA got one set up. It was supposed to be set up at Grady. We've been waiting a year to hear from these folks. It act like it's something that ain't even there, and he's frustrated. He's, you know, he's, but at least he's sticking and staying. We have too much impatience when we're challenging the government. We're not challenging the government. We're challenging people that have infiltrated our government, that have taken over our government. We got to be patient with some things in order to make it better.
But if you're the recipient of that, and the system hasn't worked up until this point, you know, I've waited. They finally adjusted the system for my benefit, and then all of a sudden now I got to wait some more. You know, everybody has a point to where I just can't. I can't handle this anymore. I can't handle it. And they become totally frustrated.
Yeah, they be
and you can understand that, but for some reason, the system that was privatized under the 45, they don't understand that you're dealing with individuals, individuals instead of groups of people, and that's how they saw numbers. They didn't see individuals. No, they saw numbers, and that's how they're operating.
Yes.
Okay, we cleared so many cases. We approved so many cases. No, but you still have that one person
that's being wrongfully denied.
Wrongfully denied because probably just a simple clerical error resulted in it.
And attitudes. See, you got people that are working these systems that has an attitude. You doing too much. You want too much. You really out of your space.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen cases where they would tell a veteran he's malingering. I mean, he's a malingerer. You know, I mean, or they tell him, well, you got a drug problem. That's the problem. Not realizing that PTSD will drive you to drinking.
That's it. You know,
it'll drive you to drinking. It'll drive you to doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the treatment that you need for that ailment, and for centuries.
Yeah.
I want to say decades, but from the not the Civil War, but the Revolutionary War. But no, since David with Goliath. Since David fought Goliath, PTSD has been there.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
They just recognized in 1980.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, see, that's when you have your control of government in the hands of people that don't want to do government the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Because if they were doing it, Vietnam era wouldn't have had all the issues that they had because of PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, they made a movie out of it. They Rambo'd us.
Right.
They made everybody scared of Vietnam veterans. Because Rambo was a killer. And they knew that's what they were sending us to do in Vietnam.
Right.
To kill.
Yeah.
And they had no program to desensitize us coming out. No, not now. I left the battlefields Vietnam, and 3 days later, I was walking the streets of Atlanta.
Yes. It was actually the battlefields of Atlanta.
Yeah. I came back to the battlefields of Atlanta.
Yes.
You know, I came back to the battlefields of America because I'm coming back thinking that I done did something noble.
Right.
And get spit on because the protesters was against the wall.
Exactly.
My young mind, my sense of turned their anger that destroyed my life. I had an anger off of that spit on me, and I couldn't get to him. I couldn't get to the person that just spit on me because the person that was escorting us through said, "Stand down, soldier."
Yeah.
I got to stop. That's an order. No matter whatever I was doing, I had to stop because he done told me to stand down. The next move would have been put me in jail. We need to get people in our government that's going to serve the way we served in the military.
Exactly. Yeah.
Serve the way we served in the military. I know Tracy over there shaking his head because, see, I wouldn't have wanted to be in his shoes, even though I was going over to OCS to get that money. But what I saw with racism in the military, I wouldn't have wanted to be no officer. I couldn't have made it as an officer. I don't think. I don't know, but God do some amazing things through those he called.
That's why I got out.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what young officers was going through during that time period. Because now what they got to realize before then, white PFC could tell a black general what to do. You know,
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
But look what these brothers and sisters of color did for the military. It has improved more than anything anybody ever imagined. It is the most effective military on planet Earth.
Yes.
Because of the way they train these young folks.
Yeah.
And the way these young folks have to get along. And it look like a flower garden.
Yeah.
You got all these races and different nationalities and they getting along just perfect. You know, I mean, ain't nothing perfect, but by and large.
Yes. Yeah.
By and large. And they live together on military bases and military families and getting along. The people that's in control need to know that we are calling on veterans, active duty military, and dependents, our families. Let's take back our governments. Let's take back our government so we can continue to grow this society. It's enough for everybody. You got Oprah Winfrey got houses in how many states?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Tyler Perry got houses in how many states?
Yeah.
You know, that's enough for everybody. See, you got a few with so much
Yes.
that they ain't willing to share
Yeah.
with the least of these.
Greed.
Greed, selfishness.
Yes.
That's destroying the planet. You know, they digging all this stuff out of the planet and all these chemicals they creating, the ozone. You know what? I tell you, the mosquitoes I had in my on my property last year done got bigger because then they died. They got bigger, man. I go out there and mosquitoes tear me up. This is a big old mosquito.
Yep. Yeah.
It didn't get cold enough for the mosquitoes to die.
Yeah.
The population for the mosquitoes to die. You know, we got to take note of the realities of where we're at today. It's so important when we say the children are our future, when we're looking at gun violence killing our children more than anything right now, and we ain't doing nothing about it as adults. We got to get some adult activity to take care of our children. And that means us, veterans, veteran families, the U.S. military, their families, all of those people that serve and know how government is supposed to function. We need to call them out. They need to do what they need to do the way we did what we had to do. And if they're not going to do it, we need to replace them. You know, they didn't have no problem with replacing one of us when you didn't do your duty. Matter of fact, you didn't get back to the barracks in some cases, right? You did. Listen, I want to shout out to all these young folks in the military today, because they are up against something where you got people in the government that don't care about them. See, they're willing to buy a bunch of military hardware, but are they taking care of military personnel? They're not doing it the way they need to be doing it. They got a housing problem in the military. Come on, man. See, we got the wrong people running our governments. And until we recognize and take it back, we got to claim it. It's our country. It's all of our country. And we need to stop these people talking about we got to control the borders. What you gonna do about people that, you know, right now, we got a problem because you got more cotton in the fields than you got people to pick it.
Exactly.
You know, we ain't got people that wouldn't work on the farms because we hating on immigrants. This country is full of immigrants except for us. You know, and the Native Americans, we didn't come here as no immigrants, we came here as slaves.
Right.
So, but this country was built on immigrants.
Exactly.
These people came in here and made a contribution to this country, and we need to start acting like it. That it was a multi-racial, multi-cultural building to get us to where we got today. And we got some people that now standing up and saying, well, they don't want this, they don't want that, and won't got us hating on each other. We cannot love our neighbors the way we supposed to, the way our faith saying we supposed to be doing, and we ain't doing it because we hating on our neighbors. You know, I couldn't understand some of the neighbors that Rick Ross is able to have a car show on his properties. They complaining about the traffic. You know, we complaining about the traffic going to work every day. You know, I mean, listen, I was glad to see him not yield to that.
Exactly.
You know, so he need to talk to us. He need to be on our team. You know. So
but he was very methodical about it. He saw the challenges that they had last year, and he solved those problems.
He saw them.
It's one of those things where you know you're not going to satisfy all the people all the time.
So some of them just hating because they can hate.
Yes, they're hating because they look at their house and they look at his house. and their end is part of the problem.
That is part of the problem.
That is part of the problem.
That's part of the
problem.
How
can this man of color, I'll use that term, live in a house like that, and we're living in a house, we're his neighbor, and our house looks like this.
So they want to find him fault.
Right.
Those are rappers. So
you know,
I mean, this is America. You know, so he's a rapper. You know what what you need to be doing is working with him to get some engineers out there to open up these expressways and get these, so you won't have to be in traffic going to work, an hour going to work because you're in traffic. Because the engineers that built the highway that we're dealing with today didn't expect the population explosion.
No idea that this city was going to grow the way it has. You know, it's one of those things. And it was years ago. I heard they were talking about Atlanta's growth and everything, and one of the things they said with Georgia Tech, one of the major technological institutions here in this city, would allow them to run 2 major interstates right through the middle of a growing town. You know, it's like, what were they thinking? You know, what was the forethought?
Well, they didn't. They was about money. That was a business move. Business. You see, what we got to go back to. All of the highways wasn't built by government. They were built by companies.
Yes.
That had influence enough to get the contract to do the stuff. So they did it the way they want to do it.
Right.
It had like they saying now, well, we locked in. How we locked in? You see all them big buildings coming up downtown. Tear them down.
Yeah.
You know, spread them out. Make sure.
The one thing, look where those buildings are located. You go up Martin Luther King. You look north, and you got to look up.
Yeah.
You look south, and it looks like it did 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not letting that. Well, now, in terms of housing.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, not the commerce, not the commerce, but the housing.
Right.
They're putting it all on the south side.
Exactly.
So that makes it harder for people to get to the store.
Right.
Because when you're off from work, you see Rick Ross enjoying his wealth. You've got a problem. You're blocking me. I'm off from work. I don't want all that in my neighborhood. Well, it's his neighborhood too.
Yes.
You need to be y'all need to be working together to solve the traffic problem that's endemic to all of us in this city.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I've been hollering out because I needed to holler out. But let me say this. I want to thank my members and supporters, man. Like I'm going through this thing with my hip. I came out of this accident crippled. And I'm going to tell you what. Something is working because I had people bring me alternative medicines. I've been popping pills, and they kind of slowed me down because it started me to bleed. I wound up in the emergency room because I'm doing too many pills in my stomach. But I had people bring me alternative stuff in the day. I left the walker home, because of the stuff that I'm leaving off the pills, and I'm going to so I'm not hurting.
Yeah.
And I still got the problem, but it is did a different thing to the nerve ends where the problem is, and I'm able to walk without the walker today. And I'm gonna keep taking this stuff, and I just want to thank everybody because, listen, they said surgery scared the daylights out of me, and I'm gonna come back. So I done seen too many people go to the VA and be cut on, and they ain't never the same.
Yeah.
They ain't never the same. Some of them just went on out of him, and we they ain't meant to be cut on all the time, So I want to thank everybody there, and thank you, Tony, for helping me out, man, with transportation, and because we've been still doing stuff. We ain't been as active as I want to be, but we've been able to meet with the governor. We've been able to meet with the Atlanta Vietnam Veteran Business Association. We've been able to keep things moving, and we're gonna keep them moving because it's more important now than it was, I think, when we started in the studio to get the message out across Georgia. Because I was in state council meeting, now this was a meeting where it was two blacks there, me and Robert, and it was about 60 veterans there with their families. But they working together. We working together, and the meeting that we went to, it had to be 60, 70 people there.
At least,
but it was about three of us, right? Three of us.
Yeah.
We're working together, so we are able to keep our like a lot of people say. I say it's my ministry, but a lot of people don't like be mixing the veteran with ministry. But Dr. Copper did, and he was my protege. And Reverend Love didn't have no problem with me mixing it because he knew that we were gonna get out there and hold signs.
Yeah.
We're gonna get out there and help people get elected that we believed in.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm calling veterans out to do now. We got to do more now than ever. Veterans. I'm talking about veterans. I ain't talking about somebody else now. I'm talking about us.
Yeah.
We talk about we're veterans talking to veterans. We're talking to Veterans Day. We got to take our governments back.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if we don't, you're gonna have courts that don't use the Constitution when they're making decisions.
Well, we've seen what happens now that when they were in control, and even now that they're no longer in control of the presidential office, they're still acting as if they are in control. You know,
with arrogance,
total arrogance.
And that you wonder, you know, never before in government since, I'm gonna tell you where it started. It started when Barack became president.
There you go.
You know,
exactly.
That's where all this toxic politics started, because they said, "Oh, wait a minute! Now, not only they billionaires, they're gonna be able to actually be a part of the government."
Yeah.
And that means they can make decisions that, and they hate on the Affordable Care Act like it's something that was really wrong.
Oh yeah. and so many people have benefited from it. Once the community of people realize the benefit of it, you know, all of a sudden, all of this idea of not having it and canceling it, that dissipated completely.
And now I'm gonna show you something. That showed me something too about people that live by principles and that are veterans. John McCain. John McCain had the vote to kill the Affordable Care Act and wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Now, that was a Republican that I loved.
Yes.
I mean, because I like John because he was a veteran and he stood up for his country.
Yeah.
But watch him in politics, the Republican Party could never really embrace him because he was different. He was an integrationist.
Yes.
He believed in fair equality.
Yes.
See, that's what happened to a lot of our brothers of a different hue in the military. And that's who we calling on.
Yeah.
But the rest of them don't matter. If they want to go on with that crazy, destructive stuff, it don't matter because it ain't enough of them to destroy this country.
Right.
And that's what some of them want to do. They will destroy this country if they can't have their way.
Yeah.
They don't want nobody else to have it. But it's our country.
Yes.
It's all of us. And we know that it's not about race, it's about money.
Yes.
But these super rich people are using racism, cronyism, whatever kind of ism they can get to keep in control, because they see control slipping away from them when you're able to get somebody in government that's going to take care of people.
Yeah.
That's what the Affordable Care Act was meant to do.
Yeah.
That's what Social Security was meant for.
Yeah.
That's what veteran benefits were meant for. These are safety nets that we were supposed to have for people, especially those that served and was injured or disabled by that service. How you gonna cut that benefit? That should tell you right then and there, them people are not fit to serve.
Yep.
They're unfit to serve.
Yeah.
So we gonna Tony, I want you to close the show out today because I'll keep it going and going and going.
No. But the thing is, we're on a topic that is critical for our city.
Yeah, for
not
our
all
city.
for the country.
Yes.
But
for our city.
Specifically for our city.
Yeah, because really, we got to get those people that's homeless in our city, in the housing.
Right.
And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it with the help of Marvin Arrington Jr. because he's one of them politicians that's a servant in the community.
Yeah.
And we got some others on there. We just got to embolden them to speak out, to stand up, because we got some housing issues. Not because it ain't housing there, it's because of greed.
Yeah, because of greed and not willing to price it so that the average person can afford to live within the city limits.
Well, that's because the government won't regulate it.
Right.
See, one of the things that I talk about this all the time. My first house was at 294 Whitworth Drive out in Adamsville. I bought that house. It was a brand new house. Nobody had ever lived in it. 3-bedroom house. I took one of them, made a den out of it, and made my little bar, and that's where me and my buddies hung out at. But it was a 3-bedroom house, right? For $13,800.
Yep.
The same house today, they ain't put no room on it, they ain't put no yard on it, they ain't stretched nothing. $195,000. Now that was a few years ago. It's probably $200,000.
Right. Yeah.
That don't make sense.
It does not, because the economy hasn't grown to the point to where it's remained accessible to the average person. You know, that price totally moves the average person away from any possibility of acquiring that home for a residence.
Yeah. See, so we need to have government that's going to not let business do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, you got to have some point where interest rates can't be. Listen, buying a home ain't fair.
Oh.
The interest rates that the banks and mortgage companies are allowed to charge people for buying a home need to be looked at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really need to be looked at. We're gonna talk about income equity.
Yes.
We're gonna have to look at all of these things that affecting our children, because we done had an opportunity to learn some stuff through our journey, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of segregation, going into looking. Look where we at now. It looked better than it did after Reconstruction when they had all those blacks in politics. We got a lot of billionaires now. We got to get these billionaires to care for their community.
Yeah.
Don't let the other billionaires be your role models.
Right.
Cut your own path. Do something different with your stuff. Don't get to the point where you're so rich, the only thing you want is a orgy situation where you got parties and rich people. Right now, you get a concert ticket to Beyonce. It's beyond my children's reach.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
We got to look at all of these things in our community that's stopping us from really being the greatest nation that we can be.
Yeah.
Because 2% of the population ain't got no business with. But they ain't got no sense with it either. Because what they think, they are able to create such a lack in some communities that that you can't leave your house because your neighbor have somebody break into it.
Mm-hmm.
For petty stuff.
Yeah.
Just for things. And we got to get that out of our children's future. And we can, by showing them how to use the vote.
Yeah.
How they need to come out and vote. How they need to run for office.
Yeah.
How they need to run for
not
office.
just vote, but definitely run for office.
Run for office.
Yeah.
Take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
I looked at Michael's face when Wayne was dealing with the memorial and the disappointment that he had on his face.
Yeah.
And I thought about his father. I thought about his dad because I actually was closer to Julian than I am to Michael. They used to live on the street I lived on Drummer Street, right up from Hunter Street. This boy family, this brother's family, his dad was in the politics. His dad lost his seat
Yes.
because he spoke out against the Vietnam War, but not so much against the Vietnam War, but because of the social context that he knew that we had to live in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he was speaking out against the war. And, a lot of people spoke out against the war in different ways. It's in government now.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have a president that was a draft evader. Come on, let's be real with it. We got to look at history and be true to history, because they're going to rewrite it if they can.
Yeah.
They'll rewrite it where they discovered America, but we know that they invaded America.
Yeah.
And we know this too. The ships that came over to America at that time, they was full of people that was coming out of prison. They were prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them was getting a leniency or clemency to go on these expeditions where they would find land that they could take. Literally. Literally. So we look at what they're saying that Putin is doing with prisoners in that war, the Ukraine war. We want to hope that we're not going toward a war, but it don't look too much like we not going toward a war, where we're going to have to be sending young people into foreign lands. These people in government need to start looking at what they doing.
Yeah.
And not realizing that after they send us in the war, we go because we good citizens. They're gonna have to be true to the covenant when we come back, and we got to be true to the covenant. See, one of the things My dad used to tell me, say, if you don't bend over, you can't ride your back.
Exactly.
You know, don't bend over. You know, look him straight in the eye. No, let them know you giving respect. You want the respect you give. You know, we want the respect that we gave. We went into the military and we served this country, some of us to the death. All of us gave some, but some gave all. We need to stand up for that. We need to take back, yeah, I'm wearing this shirt. We take back America. We take back the governments.
Yeah.
The communities in some cases are going good, you know, but in some cases you got so much lack that they ain't safe to go in. They ain't even safe. You know, when people go to the service station, somebody running in there and taking the car. You don't need that kind of stuff. See, that's lack. You know, somebody needs something, or they think they need it, they're going to go out and steal. We can handle those problems if we come together in the communities, all of us, not some of us, but all of us coming together and looking at how we're going to live, what kind of country we want. I love the multicultural, multiracial flavor of Atlanta. I like going downtown and seeing all this stuff going and seeing our children, how they can, you know, commingle.
Yeah.
And have a good time and not be shooting and killing each other. But as you get out from downtown, if you notice this, but it's coming downtown a lot more, but as you get out downtown into these clubs and in the community, you got more violence. We have to address these issues.
Yeah.
We gotta. We can't act like we don't see what's happening. I think that's Tony. You can close it out, bro, because we done did an hour plus. You know?
Yeah, yes. So once again, we want to thank everybody for coming out with us every Saturday, 4 to 5 o'clock. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next week, same time, same stations. Veterans, helping veterans, talking about challenges that veterans are dealing with. And we'll see you next week.
And we want to just say that to Crystal and all the people that's been on the show that's working in the community, I want to give you an attaboy. And we're looking forward to the meeting at the library on the 27th this month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we are putting out information about what's going on in the community. So if you got something that you want us to put out, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.